Everybody's celebrating AMD's partnership with OpenAI, but let's be real. This isn't a partnership. It's a bailout disguised as a headline. The media is spinning it like AMD scored the deal of the year. OpenAI, the hottest AI company on the planet, teaming up with AMD to deploy 6 gigawatts of GPUs. But the catch is buried in the fine print. AMD literally has to give away part of its company just to sell chips. OpenAI gets a massive equity stake. Buy and deploy the GPUs and they get up to 160 million shares of AMD, nearly 10% of the company. Think about that. AMD isn't being invested in, it's giving away its own stock just to sell product. AMD's been fighting an uphill battle for years in artificial intelligence. While Nvidia GPUs power basically every major AI model on the planet, AMD's chips are still trying to prove themselves. AMD's problem isn't performance, it's ecosystem. Without that ecosystem, it's like selling a race car with no gas pedal. Everyone's built their artificial intelligence workflow around Nvidia. Everything is designed around CUDA, the backbone of Nvidia software. Switching away from Nvidia is like trying to move your whole company off Windows overnight. Technically possible, practically impossible. So AMD's been desperate for a big win, a marquee name to show everyone they can compete in artificial intelligence. When AMD couldn't win on performance or ecosystem, they tried to win on price. And now, apparently, on equity. That's why they made this move with OpenAI. It's not competition, just desperation dressed up with a press release. So while the headlines say OpenAI buys AMD chips, AMD lands the artificial intelligence deal of the year, it's not even close. OpenAI isn't buying AMD chips. AMD is paying OpenAI to use their GPUs. That's not a vote of confidence, that's bribery. Yet analysts are calling it bullish. Strategic partnership. Validation of AMD's artificial intelligence roadmap. Sure, if you ignore the fact that AMD had to give away nearly 10% of itself to make it happen, think about it. If AMD's technology was truly irresistible, it wouldn't need to hand over part of itself to secure a deal. Like if this makes sense to you, or leave a comment and explain where you disagree. Nvidia doesn't do this. They don't have to. Their chips sell themselves and their ecosystem dominates. But AMD? They needed a marquee name, and the only way to get it was to literally write a check in stock. The media is spinning this as being bullish, but it's actually a red flag. Here's the bottom line. This deal isn't a partnership. It's a desperation move. AMD literally had to give away part of its company just to get OpenAI to use their GPUs. The headlines will keep spinning it as a win. But the reality? A top-tier customer shouldn't need to be paid in equity to adopt your hardware. If AMD truly were competitive, they'd be selling chips because people wanted them, not because they're being bribed with stock. In fact, this deal only cements Nvidia's lead. Nvidia doesn't have to bribe anyone. Their ecosystem dominates, their chips sell themselves, and every major AI workflow is built around them. So when you see analysts celebrating this, remember what's actually happening. AMD is handing over upside in its own company just to make sales. That's not strength, that's distress. As someone who's followed semiconductors for over 15 years and used AMD gear extensively, I can tell you, if AMD were anywhere close to really catching up in artificial intelligence, the engineers I follow would have said so by now. They haven't. This is why you just can't read the headlines. You need to think for yourself or watch me. If you want to discuss further, join me on Discord. I'm always going beyond the headlines to show you what's actually happening, and I'd love to chat with you directly. Thanks. Bye.